not be having these conversations. I think that ultimately you're going to be judged based on how you look against number 15 if you do have to match up against Kansas City. And that was definitely a big kind of chasm between the two, is that we saw Patrick Mahomes be lights out in that first half of the AFC Championship game last year, and Lamar had the strip sack. He struggled to push the ball downfield. They weren't able to separate against Kansas City's DBs, and we saw Lamar kind of press. I think that this year, while it's hard to guarantee anything, the way he's been working as a drop back passer this season, I think he's been more willing to work the ball in the tight windows. And they haven't had to see as many tight windows because when they run play action with Derrick Henry on the field, I mean, there's just really not much defenses can do to try to take away those intermediate throwing windows. And I think as long as those guys are healthy, we obviously have to see what the status is of Zay Flowers, assuming that they win this weekend and move on. And if he's able to stay active or get back active and be on the field, you said it, Sheil. I mean, the complement of pieces that he has around him offensively, as well as a defense that looks like it can be trusted in a playoff environment again, and special teams that has been cleaned up over the last month or so of the season. Like you said, I mean, and this is the same conversation we were having last year about the Ravens. They have all the pieces to get it done. I think that, like you said, there's a lot at stake for Lamar, but I would also reframe that and say I think that he has the most to gain from having another deep playoff run, because the narrative on him is that he has not won many big games. And I've made this comparison before, but it reminds me so much of Peyton Manning before he broke through. And that was always a conversation, is when is he going to beat the truly elite teams in a playoff environment? And then you get that Super Bowl run, and there was nothing to talk about again after that, right? So I think that this is a great opportunity to do so. Obviously going on the road for both the divisional and the conference championship game, if it plays out that way, will be difficult. But I have a lot of trust in what the Ravens have put on tape over the last 2 months.
Zay Flowers out for this game. Now they're still 9.5-point favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see when the Steelers get picked, if the Steelers get picked in this game. But you know that if you're a Ravens fan, I feel like that makes you at least a little bit nervous with the passing game, that no Zay Flowers in this game and the Tomlin magic. But man, that would be the biggest upset of the playoffs this year if the Steelers somehow went into Baltimore and won that football game. To your guys' point, they have so many different ways to win games that I feel like that could be an excuse in the divisional round. That can't be an excuse in this round, right, Ruiz?
Right. Yeah. And I'm thinking along those lines. Like, I have a pick from this game. I'm going to go Derrick Henry under 99.5 rush yards. If you remember, I made the same mistake the second time these two teams played. I took the under on Derrick Henry. We remember how that game went. The Steelers wanted the ball in his hands when the Ravens were doing the zone read plays. They kept it out of Lamar's hand, and Derrick Henry just ran wild on them. I'm assuming there's going to be a different approach, a different defensive approach, especially in the run game this time around. I'm assuming Mike Tomlin's not going to let Derrick Henry run for 150 yards or whatever he ran for last time. And I'm hoping that maybe they force Lamar Jackson to be more of a runner and hope that wears him down. I think that's not a bad strategy, is trying to get hits on Lamar Jackson and make him wear down in the fourth quarter. If things are still close, maybe you get a break and you win that game. So I'm hoping that's the path to victory for Pittsburgh. At least that's how they view it.
And the Steelers defense is healthier now. You know, Joey Porter's playing in this game. Their pass rushers, though all those guys are playing in this game. So we'll see. Do they have a Tomlin special, ugly it up Saturday night in the cold in Baltimore? And we're all going, wait a minute. How is this the score in the fourth quarter? We'll see if it's that type of game. By the way, the Los Angeles Chargers as my next pick here. I don't know if this is a surprise or if you guys had them lower on your board or what.
Not a surprise. You telegraphed this one.
Okay.
I knew you were going to pick it.
They're favored at Houston. I said it before. Their offense has played like 3 of their best games of the season down the stretch. Maybe it's just coincidence and small sample, but I don't know. It's looked pretty good. It hasn't looked fluky. Justin Herbert is healthy. Jim Harbaugh is their head coach. Maybe it's a square pick, but I really like them to win this game at Houston. And the take I would never say behind a mic, that I would only say among friends here, is that I would give them an actual shot at Kansas City. If I'm just looking at quarterback and coach in that spot against a team that is a very good team, but maybe not as good as they've been in previous weeks. We'll see where I am potentially with this next week. Maybe we won't even be talking about it because they'll lose in the wild card round. But that's the reason I'm going with the Los Angeles Chargers in this spot.
This is my first upset of the draft. I really wanted the Chargers. I was worried that you would pick them. I was hoping you would pick the Commanders over them. and you didn't. But you have been talking about the Chargers for the last month and about them being frisky in the playoffs. So it was on my radar.
The
but
breadcrumbs were there.
Congratulations.
There all right, that's my pick here. This Chargers Texans game. I mean, I don't know. I cannot pick the Texans given what I've seen from their offense this season. Now, if you told me their defense just puts the clamps down and the Chargers do not have a wide receiver open and that Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter combine for 4 sacks and that Justin Herbert's getting pushed to the ground all game long, I can buy that aspect of it and say, all right, that's the Texans' path to victory. But they've just been such a frustrating team for me. I think partially because of how much I actually do like CJ Stroud. They've just been such a frustrating team for me that I cannot go with them in the first round. So I don't know. Again, I feel like every time we talk about the Texans, I lead the question with, I don't know. Do you guys have anything new to say about them? But Deontay, in this spot, do you confidently like the Chargers? Do you like the Texans? Do you think it's a toss-up? Where are you with this game?
I think we kind of mentioned it in the recap show coming out of week 18 when we were talking about the matchups. I think if you're just going player for player, these two teams probably should be matching up pretty well. And I do think that when the Chargers have the ball, we're going to get some pretty elite play calling from a defensive perspective up against a quarterback that has all the answers in Justin Herbert. Like, I'm really fascinated to see how he works against the Texans defense. I do have a prop for this game, and it's Herbert to go over 20.5 rushing yards, because I think that's going to be what the deciding factor is that Herbert can add a number in the run game, both on designed runs, and we've seen it as of late, really all season, as a scrambler as well when things aren't available. I think that this is going to be a big test for me as to whether or not I can trust them to stay in range if they do see Kansas City in the next round of the playoffs. But if you're looking, I mean, this isn't just about the numbers being better over the last month for them. You mentioned that Chiefs game. That was kind of the start of them tinkering with early down passing, was around that range of the season. And I think that what we've seen over the last 4 to 5 weeks is that they've really leaned into that being their early down identity. On first and second down, they want to throw the ball 12 to 15 times a game, just to give them an opportunity, I think, to run the ball into better boxes and better down and distance scenarios. And we will see a good amount of that with all the man coverage that Houston's going to play, that Justin Herbert's going to have to be precise. He's going to have to use his legs. I think that that's what the deciding factor is going to be. I'm not confident in the Chargers outside of this wild card game. But I do think that if there is a quarterback in the AFC that's not playing on one of the favorites that can get in the way, be a thorn in the side of the contenders that we've already talked about, it's pretty clearly the Chargers.
They've turned into, to your point, Deontay, the 6th most pass heavy team in the NFL. Remember what we were talking about after 2 weeks, after 4 weeks? But you're right. It's become play action at the 2nd highest rate of any team in the NFL, and throwing the football on early downs. And that's their best formula. Put the ball in your best players' hands in advantageous situations when you might not have the most talented pass catching group.
It's got to give Greg Roman a heartburn. Every first down, he's got to call it.
Someone had to force him into it, but he has been doing it. And then on the other side of the ball, CJ Stroud, 33rd out of 36 quarterbacks in success rate against zone coverage. So Chargers, obviously a zone heavy team. I like their coaching staff to be able to cook some things up to slow down that Texans offense that usually is getting in its own way anyway. All right. So I've got the Chargers there.
Let's roll, baby. Welcome into this special Saturday edition of the Ringer Sunday pregame as we are getting you ready for the 2 games on Wild Card Weekend coming up later on tonight. We got another show and a bunch of games on Sunday. And, of course, we wrap it up on Monday night. The boys are back by popular demand as we welcome in Joe House, Raheem Palmer, Cousin Sal, John Jastremski, and we were supposed to be together in Los Angeles like we were last year. I know I may still be superimposed into the Simmons compound couch after what happened in the Dolphin-Chief game, but unfortunately we are not in Los Angeles today due to the tragic wildfires that have hit the Los Angeles area. I know I speak on behalf of everybody here with the Ringer Sunday pregame. We are thinking of our friends in Southern California as they deal with the devastation, as they try to move forward. We're trying to help out in any which way we can. Sal, you're out in California. I wish I was in studio with you, buddy. How are you and the people of SoCal holding up?
I know, pal. It's very sad we're not all together. Very sad the circumstances surrounding it. I've been very fortunate comparatively to everyone else. Lots of people I know and we know struggling. Our thoughts are with them and their families. And now we're going to talk an hour and a half about sports gambling and football. But please save a few bucks. Throw it to the Red Cross. Throw it to greatergood.org. A lot of worthwhile charities out there. Go get it.
We will try to do so. We're going to try to put everybody in good spirits and in a good mood as we break down these football games and as we try to put a smile on our face, Raheem. You know, I was thinking about this last night. I was thinking about it on Thursday. The way college football and the NFL have set up these weekends now, this is going to be a regular occurrence year in and year out where we go from Thursday through Monday with high stakes, high quality, top-notch football. We got 2 terrific games in the college football playoff. I'm still salty about Penn State. Aller, what an absolute stiff. Thank you for taking my money. Thankfully, the Ohio State Buckeyes were able to capitalize because Steve Sarkisian doesn't run the ball on the 1-yard line. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you hooking me up there with my -6. But, Raheem, I could get used to this, man, every year, these 5 straight days of football.
Yeah, I can definitely get used to it, but what I cannot get used to is teams refusing to run the tush push or a quarterback sneak at the 1-yard line. It does not make sense. I saw the worst play call since Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll refused to run Marshawn Lynch at the goal line. They ran a pitch at the 1-yard line. What are you doing? So that was very, very frustrating for me. But we got great football coming up. We got the NFL playoffs. So I'm very excited. I know you guys are excited as well.
And we're going to see if the boys are very much aligned, House, on these 2 wildcard games. I know you tailed me on the 2 college football games. I got you split. If I would have went 0-2, I would expect you to throw tomatoes in my face. You'll take the split, correct?
Well, JJ, don't take this the wrong way. I played Penn State in the tees, so it worked out.
Oh, good for you. All right,
Penn
good. That
State
makes
and
me feel
Ohio
better.
State. I mean, you know, in all fairness and with all due respect to all the college football nut jobs out there, you can't watch the quarterback play of those 2 games and feel like it's a good way to spend your money. I mean, I just have a hard time with. You yelled at this poor kid Aller at the beginning of the show. Well, you can't yell at that kid. He's a kid and he's not good. He
was supposed to be a top pick in a draft. They were talking about. First of all, I don't feel bad for these kids anymore when they're making millions of dollars, House. Normally at 20-year-olds, I feel bad. He's still getting that $3 million NIL check, okay?
Well, he's still a kid. The money doesn't change it, but in any event, I mean.
Can I jump in for a second?
God bless, because
JJ is going to get very used to yelling at kids. He had a big announcement earlier. I know we started the show with something sad, but JJ, tell us, I don't want to step on anything. What's the big news? What's the good news? It was good news.
I appreciate that, Sal. I appreciate that, guys. Yes, my wife, Caitlin, and I are very excited. We have a new arrival coming in. The next generation of Jastremskis. Hide the women and children, no pun intended. Baby J is on the way in May in 2025. Sal, you're going to have to give my boy or girl all sorts of advice on how to win with your great season. You're going to have to, be the one to advise you more than anybody else.
Well, I'll give you some advice. I think you keep the JJ. You can get a triple J in here now. Yes, there we go. A round of applause. How about Jimmy Johnson Jastremski, Jerry Jones Jastremski, boy or girl? I think these are lovely names, I think, to offer.
Well, I appreciate the feedback. And Raheem, what are we setting boy, girl on? -115?
No, I'm going to make it even money. I think it's a 50% chance. So I'll give you even money on each side, and I won't charge you guys juice.
Wow. No big. There you see it. Listen, my sister and my wife made me take a zillion pictures. I was over it. I was done with it. But, hey, we got the iconic shot outside the Eiffel Tower. So I appreciate those kind words, fellas. Now, we transition from a baby announcement to a presentation of our wisest wager winner for the 2024 season. And Cousin Sal, if you remember last year, we were together in Los Angeles. You may have been presented the worst trophy in the history of trophies. Let's no knock on anybody. Look at this in the studio. You get your wise wager trophy. You're so excited. You're putting your hat on, and
yes,
it fell apart. What was the over/under? 10 seconds? 20 seconds?
What a big moment. Yeah, it was disgusting. I don't even know, Jack's wife or kid spent about 20 seconds putting that together for sure, and it didn't last. I hope this year is better. Are we about to give me a trophy? Is that what's going on here?
Yes, so on behalf of the Ringer Sunday pregame show, on behalf of Jack and Joe House and Raheem Palmer and the whole crew, we present to you the Cuz
Oh,
The wise wager winner
Cuz.
of
Thank you.
2024.
Wow.
Mikey Meatballs, thank you. All right, well, this is impressive. I
Look at
like
that
this. I have to say, this is nice. There's a nice cup on there, a top. I can pour my Coke Zeros in there. The W's, I guess, stand for why the hell are you guys getting paid when I'm getting all the wins on this show? And there's an owl. It looks too much like an eagle. I'm going to replace that with a cowboy. But thank you, guys. I appreciate this. This goes out to all the little people, including the El Segundo Sanitation Department, who have their eyes on
The W's are for all the folks that watch the shows that knew to tail Cuz every week.
There you
That's
go.
what the W's are for.
Thank
Cuz.
you,
The
Joe
little
House.
people is everybody that watches us every week and knows that the Cuz has his thumb on the pulse, baby.
Yeah.
And I think it's a must now, Sal. That trophy needs to remain in the Zoom background for the entirety of this postseason
Let's
and
do
into the
it.
2025 season. We want it as a part of the fabric, the decorum of whatever you got going on there. Maybe do it later. I don't want to
I'm going
distract
to
you. I
find a
don't want you
spot
to
for
break
it.
anything.
It may have to replace the Dez caught it. And by the way, 10 years since Dez actually did catch it today. Still sick over it. But thank you for the trophy, guys. I appreciate it. Happy handicap.
You are welcome. Now, we presented our winner. If you remember, Cousin Sal had a tremendous 2023. He couldn't have been worse in the postseason. 2024, Cousin Sal was even better than he was in 2023. So now, Sal, you got to pay it forward. It's time, boys. We wising up for Wild Card Saturday. We're excited. We got the Chargers and the Texans. A low total. This line has moved a little bit. You saw 3 basically in the marketplace all week. It has fallen to 2.5. So here's how we're going to do it come playoff time. The wise guys are going to make a pick in our Wising Up. We are going to give you one player prop. We're going to do that for every single playoff game. We're going to try to hit as many of these as we can. Sal, I'm telling you, you're going to have a big postseason. You had a big regular season. This year, we're not going to have the split. I like that you lost in Week 18. Maybe got some of the bad voodoo out of the way. Let's hear it, sir. What's your Wising Up pick for the Chargers and the Texans?
I don't expect you guys to remember, but the first game last year, the Texans are always in the Shakey's game, right? The Shaky Bowl. It's the first game on Saturday, and they whooped the Browns, and I loved the Browns last year. I'm not going to get caught up again, but I'm playing it a little differently, JJ. I'm taking the Texans over 19.5 team points minus 126. Last year in this round, every home team scored 20-plus points, including the Houston, who put up 45 against the Browns, including Raheem, our garbage Cowboys team, who eventually figured out how to score against Green Bay. So last year, all 620-plus. In the last 3 years, 16 out of the 18 home teams have put up 20-plus points. Chargers allowed 20-plus in 3 of the last 4. It's my favorite team total. Stroud gets loud. Give me Texans over 19.5.
Sal, thinking the Houston Texans are going to go and put up some points. Now, Raheem, your wise wager for this game kind of features the opposite. You're feeling an under with these two.
Yeah, I hate to go against Sal because Sal is just so hot right now. But I like the under 41.5. This was 42.5 this morning. It's unfortunate it didn't move, but, 41 is a key number, so getting that hook is valuable. I mean, when you look at this game, my model makes it 40.5, and you got 2 bad to mediocre offensive teams. You look at the Texans, they're 31st in offensive success rate. You look at the Chargers, they're 20th in offensive success rate. And both of these teams, they get to third down quite often. You look at the Chargers, 50% of their set of downs have gone to third down. That's 28th in the league. You look at the Texans, almost 50% of their set of downs have also gone to third down. So they're 27th in the league. So you got two bad offenses that like to run the ball heavily, and they go to third and longs. I think you're going to see a little bit of a punt fest. And you got 2 solid defenses. Both of these defenses, the Texans and the Chargers, they're either top 5 or top 10 in EPA per play or success rate. So give me the under 41.5. I would have loved to have 42.5, but unfortunately that number moved while, we were talking this morning. But I still like the under, so let's grab that.
Okay, Raheem's feeling an under. Joe House? Of course, it's the first game of Wild Card Weekend. You have gotten in the teaser lab. You're looking to start the postseason with a bang. What is the tease of a wise wager going to be, good sir?
Yeah, I love that under, but the number has been moving, and it's moving in the other direction all week. So I'm going to tease both the side and the total. This is one where normally I wouldn't mess with the total, but because of the game state and game condition here, I'm kind of into it. The Texans, I'm going to take them from 2.5 dogs all the way up to 8.5. Dream laid out some of the case for why I don't think that either one of these teams is going to win by margin. I don't think the Chargers are capable of winning by margin. But in general, fellas, the wild card round is for the dogs. In the last 10 years, dogs 26, 17, and 1 against the spread, 61%. Dogs of 7 or less, 20 and 10 against the spread. Home underdogs in wild card games, 14, 9, and 2 against the spread, 61%. 11 of those 14 teams that covered also won outright. I don't like the fact that the Chargers have their third straight road game here. New England, Las Vegas, Houston, that's a lot of travel. And for all of what's going on in Los Angeles, I'm sure some of the guys are trying to figure out their family situation and make sure everybody's safe as an element of, things that might distract. I just like the idea of the Texans getting 8.5 or 9 points, depending on where that number lands, and 47.5 as the total to go under. That's the way I'm playing it.
I'll take it a step further, Joe House. You mentioned the trend of home underdogs. You mentioned the idea of Houston being very comfortable in this position. They've played a lot of these wild card games over the years. They won one in decisive fashion last year against Flacco and the Cleveland Browns. I think we have a situation where the Chargers are entirely overvalued going into this game. The Chargers playing their third straight road game. The Chargers, to me, have not been great against teams over 500 this year. The Texan defense, as crummy as they looked against Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas Day, to me, that's an outlier performance. That's a Texan team playing a Saturday into a Tuesday. Weird dynamic there right around Christmas. I think Stingley and the Texan pass rush and what they can do defensively is going to allow them not only to cover this number, I think they're winning the game outright. Everybody wants to bet the Chargers. Everybody wants to be in on Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert and this sort of coronation for an LA Charger team that's had a great regular season. But to me, they are not justified being favorites on the road in their third straight playoff game. I'm riding that trend of the home dog, baby. Give me Houston. I love that this line has moved off 3. They are winning the game outright. Give me the Texans plus 2.5 to wrap up our little Wisen Up segment. And Sal, it sure seems like a lot of unison and unity Texan-wise here. I didn't expect that because everybody seems to be on the Chargers, but I know you guys are playing it maybe in a little bit of a different way. Nobody's necessarily all in on the idea of laying 2.5 here with Harbaugh and with Herbert.
I like it. It's weird. And again, a lot of it is because I'm gun shy because of what happened last year with the Texans and betting against them. But that place is going to be lively. It's going to be exciting. And I think we're going to see the best of C.J. Stroud today.
Raheem,
I disagree. I'm not on the Texans. This is just me thinking that both of these offenses aren't very good and both of the defenses are solid. But when you look at these two teams, I think you're looking at mirror images of one another. You're looking at the Spider-Man meme. You look at the Texans. They were 1-5 against playoff teams. The Chargers are 2-5 against playoff teams. I think the number dictates everything. Like if the Chargers were catching points, I'd probably be on the Chargers. But I don't want to take points with the Texans because they've been terrible all year long. And I just think with Bobby Slowick, the way he runs the ball on, first downs, it's very, first and second downs and early downs and puts them behind the 8 ball on third downs and needs C.J. Stroud to go out there and make miracles on third down. That's very hard for me to bet on. And if there's one thing I can say about Harbaugh is that he has the pedigree to get it done. I don't know about the Houston Texans, so I don't want to bet this game, but if I had to bet a side, I would bet the Chargers.
Raheem, number. Everyone's betting the Chargers, right? Mm-hmm. Seeing all the ticket splits, all the money splits, what have you. Explain this to me and explain it to the audience. Why did this line move off of 3?
I think you just got some sharp money on the Texans. I think, a lot of people are looking at this line. Professionals are saying there's no way that the Texans should be catching 3 here. And if you look at the Texans all year long, this is the lowest they've been power rated. So I think people are saying that's an anomaly, but I still don't want to touch it.
Joe House, with that 2-team teaser, we feeling better about the Texans getting them up, or you feeling better about the total taking it up?
I love both, to be honest with you. I mean, it really does set up for the only way that I would like to play this game. That Texans up to over 8.5, over all the way up to 9. I just don't see the scenario by which the Chargers, are able to win by margin. And Raheem mentioned the Chargers have two wins over playoff teams. Both of those were against the Broncos. So I really do agree with the idea that these teams are mirror images, and the defenses for each have been the calling card. And the defenses are very well tailored to take away the thing that each offense wants to do. So to me, the way to do this is just grab the dog, because that's what you do on Wild Card Weekend. That's why these numbers are what they are over the last 20 years. They're dog numbers. A dog at home especially, go ahead and give yourself a buffer with the teaser, and this is definitely an under. These defenses are very good.
Let's transition, guys. We gave out our wise wager. We're going to give out a player prop that each of us hone in on in every single one of these games now moving forward throughout the postseason. Raheem, the board is your oyster, my boy. Texans, Chargers. What's the player prop that stands out?
Let's go with Ladd McConkey, over 5.5 receptions. I mean, this guy's had a terrific rookie season. You're talking about 82 receptions, 1,149 yards. And if you look at over the last 5 games, he's been absolutely dominant. He's been Justin Herbert's go-to receiver. You're talking 33 receptions on 43 targets, averaging about 6.5 receptions a game. So I think you're getting a bargain here with 5.5 receptions. Let's go over Ladd McConkey. I think we might cash this one in the third quarter or so.
So, Raheem, I'm taking a page out of your playbook for my player prop. I go back to last year in the postseason, and you were riding Harrison Butker over kicking props. Well, I'm looking at Ticket the Kicker as the guy that I want to target for over kicking props. You guys mentioned the idea of the Chargers maybe stalling out on a couple of these drives. You got a kicker that's one of the most reliable in all of football. So I'm seeing that over for kicking props at 7.5. I think he might hit 3 field goals in the game. I think he might hit 2 field goals and I get 2 touchdowns and I go from there. I am feeling pretty confident in Dick the Kicker when he has opportunities to go and get himself 3 points. He's going to find a way to capitalize. I know it might contradict the feeling of an under, but hey, the field goal kicker could get involved and in my case will get involved. I'm taking Dicker over 7.5 kicking points for Saturday's game. Okay, Sal, give me a player prop.
I like that, JJ. I feel like there's only a few kickers you could do that with because so many coaches are going for it on 4th and 3 from the 35 or 36, but Dicker the Kicker is a good one. And mine is going to have to win. Well, the only way mine wins is if Raheem's win. So let's get both. Ladd McConkey, 80-plus receiving yards. You get a plus for this, plus 106. I'm surprised it's a plus number. He averages, as Raheem said, 7 targets, makes the most of them. He's done this in 6 of his last 7 games, so I don't know why that's a plus number. Nice and easy, get him in a rhythm, maybe get the butterflies out for Justin Herbert. Nice slant passes, 4-yard outs. I think he's going to have a lot of receptions, as Raheem says, and a lot of yards racked up. 1,150 on the year, by the way. He's going to get 80-plus this afternoon. Ladd Bulldogs his way to plus 106.
3 Chargers props. House, you joining the proceedings?
Let's make it a clean sweep, boys. I'm looking at Justin Herbert now all week. J.K. Dobbins had a questionable tag next to his name. It wasn't until this morning that Adam Schefter reported that Dobbins is going to go. I'm playing Justin Herbert over 20.5 rushing yards at minus 110. Herbert had his all-time best rushing season this year, even with his ankle injury earlier this year. I don't have any issue with him feeling comfortable grabbing the yards on the ground as they come available. But the thing that I really like about this prop is mobile quarterbacks against this Houston defense. Anthony Richardson twice, Drake May, Caleb Williams, Josh Williams, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar. They all went over this, and each one of them had a rush of at least 15 yards as they went over this number. The Texans' pass rush is excellent, but they can get pushed up a little bit too far. And the way that the Chargers offense, they have it's a every man, every portion of your body. It's arms and legs to get the ball down the field. This is Justin Herbert with his legs over 20.5.
Okay, so the boys all on when it comes to Charger player props. Let's take a look at the graphic. Wise guys, first Saturday wildcard game. How do we stand? What do we decide to play here in these particular matchups? I'm taking the Texans plus the points. You see an under there from Raheem. Little teaser action from Joe House. And our buddy Cousin Sal is feeling the Texans getting the 20-plus points. And then you see with the player props, it's McConkey ×2. Over 20.5 rushing yards for Justin Herbert. And ticket a kicker, over 7.5 kicking points. Now, our pal Tate Frazier, who I'm bummed I'm not going to get to see over the course of this weekend. I know he is in Los Angeles. He is a big-time Los Angeles Chargers fan. He's got the season tickets. So I figured it's only right that we'd have our pal Tate on to give us a play that I probably am not going to like for this wildcard weekend game. Tate, let's hear it, buddy.
What's up, Wise guys? It's Tate Frazier, host of Through the Ringer. I wish we were all together out here in Los Angeles, but unfortunately we got the fires going on out here. So I want to send a shout out to all the first responders out here, LAFD, doing the Lord's work, and to everyone in Los Angeles, we're thinking of you right now. But now let's get to the pick. Sal called this the Shaky Special. You guys want to hear about the Chargers, and a lot of people were calling this a sucker bet, plus 3 points at home, a 4 seed taking on an inferior Chargers team coming in. But I do think the Chargers have a better quarterback. I think they have Jim Harbaugh, who is now the coach, who has set a real standard here with the Chargers. Of course, I'm a season ticket holder, so I've seen this Chargers team grow. I really like them in this game, but I am worried about the defense against this run game. Joe Mixon has been able to do some stuff, but at the end of the day, Natrone means business. The Chargers are going to get this win. I think they're going to win one game in the playoffs, and then they're probably going to lose at the Chiefs. But this week, they get a win. They're calling it a sucker bet. Well, call me a sucker. I like Jim Harbaugh with the LAFD hat on. I like the energy. The city's behind the Chargers, and I think they get a win on the road. So let's take Harbaugh. Let's take the Chargers' way, and let's see LA get a win. In Houston, Wise guys, we miss you out here in LA, but we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate it, Tate. Obviously, a very nice sentiment there. Sal, I wish we would have negotiated. Tate should have given me this information before the start of the show. Could have booked this bet myself.
I know. No, listen, Tate doesn't like the Chargers. He's just praying they play the Broncos in the conference championship game so he could sell his season tickets for $300 and take a bus to North Carolina where he'd become Lombardi and Belichick's driver. That's the plan. I wasn't supposed to say anything, but that's exactly what he's doing.
Tate, if you're watching, you may not be
if that's
wanting
the
to spend
plan,
any
he's
time
doing
with
a
Cousin
great
Sal.
job at faking it because
really
where do you
is.
get a Natron Means jersey from in 2024? I mean,
eBay?
I haven't heard. I'm just saying.
StockX. Do I need to lead you to a list, Raheem? You know where to find some vintage jerseys. Come on,
Someone left it.
MO.
Someone left it at SoFi last home game. He picked it up on the way out.
I'm just saying. The fact that he got one says a lot about his fandom. So
That's right.
I think it's authentic.
When there's a will, there's a way. Okay, so FanDuel on their site has all sorts of features you can get involved with as far as the NFL postseason is concerned. If there is a future fusion that kind of sets your fancy, Joe House, I know we're going to get to Baltimore and the Steelers coming up in a little bit. I think it's you getting on board with those Baltimore Ravens to maybe win the Super Bowl. Ain't that right, sir?
How did you know this? Did somebody tell you? So my favorite one on this board is 33-1, and it's the Lions to beat the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, connected to the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. So I already have a Ravens Super Bowl ticket at a good price, but I also like the idea of it being a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl, so the Lions over the Eagles that gets it done. I love the way this thing is played out. I mean, we're not putting a giant stake on this thing, but it lines up with my script for these playoffs, fellas.
I like that a lot, Raheem. The idea of the Lions beating the Eagles seems kind of chalky. And then if you're on board with Lamar having the postseason that kind of propels him to a different stratosphere as a quarterback, it's a good number at 33-1.
Yeah, I like that one, but I have three that I actually like. I like each number 1 and number 2 seed to reach the AFC and NFC championship games at plus 750. It's the year of the chalk, so why wouldn't you roll with that? I also like any NFC North team to reach the Super Bowl because I think the two highest upside teams are the Lions and the Packers. That's minus 165. And then finally, I got the Chiefs to beat the Ravens in the AFC championship game and the Lions to win the Super Bowl at plus 25-1. And I like this one because the Chiefs, they're always down at halftime in the Super Bowl. The Lions might be up, and then you could hedge. So that's my play.
You like anything, Sal?
Yeah, we're all over the place here because I like the Bills to go further than the Eagles at plus 100. You can maybe cash that Sunday afternoon, as early as Sunday afternoon. Bills or Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, plus 180. I feel like that's the AFC Championship. I would caution you, don't get sucked into Lions-Vikings NFC Championship. They'll likely be playing against each other next week, so that's going to be tough to cash.
100%. I like this one. This caught my eye. The Bills finally break through and beat the Chiefs, and then the Eagles go and win the Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be typical Buffalo, Sal? To finally break through, to finally get to the Super Bowl in Philadelphia? I don't think so.
And they lose it on a missed kick.
Oh,
no. Wide right. I absolutely love it.
What did Buffalo do to us? We got to show them.
A lot. To be honest, Joe House, they've done nothing but torment me from Jim Kelly to Josh Allen. So maybe not for you guys. For me,
Buffalo cool with me. They lost 2 Super Bowls to my Cowboys.
There you go,
and they blessed us with some buffalo wings. So we good.
The
And
Bills
House
to beat
has
the
a number
Chiefs.
2.
Bills to beat the
Washington
Chiefs
them.
plus 470. Plus
Now, gentlemen,
470.
before we go to break, last year, Joe House was the winner of Man's Best Bet. This year, in dramatic fashion, this guy, thanks to Bryce Young, comes through and gets me Man's Best Bet trophy for 2024.
Oh, we can skip this.
There's a changing of the guard. There's my dog, Snoopy, one of my favorites. My name is on the trophy. Joe House, I'm in elite company, my friend, so I'm honored to be joined with you, and I'm glad that Snoopy made the hit.
You did a great
baby.
job. Last week,
really did.
it was very dramatic. I look, here's the lesson. The last 2 weeks of the season, I was in the lead. I played the smallest dogs possible, and you put it on a
And
shirt.
you lost.
Don't play small dogs. Don't
And
play
you
small
lost.
dogs.
We got
That's
a
right.
lot more coming your way.
House
We're going
is
to break.
so pissed, I can tell you.
Steelers or Ravens. We're breaking it all down. Coming up next.
You can't sit on the
Saturday, the Chargers are at the Houston Texans, and I
wonder where Craig's leaning.
Yeah,
Craig's doing the money ball on CJ Stroud.
I know. Yeah,
Let's do it.
Chargers are giving 2.5. Craig, yeah, is this your money ball game, Craig?
It's actually not, but I'm picking the Chargers. And I'm actually fully prepared for Stroud to want to literally have a great playoff game and win this game. But I'm taking Harbaugh and Herbert any day over D'Amico and Stroud, even though they're in Houston.
What's going to change in this game for the Texans that has not been sort of like apparent the last month plus for them? Their offense has just been terrible. Their run game stinks. And I saw this. Nate Tice put together a really interesting preview of the divisional or the wild card round. So you go check that out at Yahoo. But basically, the Texans' run game isn't good, and that results in opposing defenses like higher than like one of the highest rates running 2 high shells against the Texans' offense. So it makes it much harder for them to pass deep. So they can't run and they can't pass deep. All that's left is like Stroud being a hero and making like ridiculously tough throws, but he's not been especially good against 2 high shells this year. So I don't know, man. The Chargers run second most 2 high looks. This is like what they're majoring in. This is like what they're good at. They were 9th in defensive DVOA this year. This is really good defense that like plays the type of ball that the Texans struggle with. And so, and then when you flip it over on the other side, it's like, I'm really confident in Herbert. He's been incredible. He's been one of the best players in the NFL, full stop, in play action this year. I just think he's much better at creating big plays. I don't know. I'm picking the Chargers in this one, and I feel pretty good about it. I just think the Texans' vibes are awful right now. All this could, of course, look stupid in a couple days, but it feels pretty clear to me that the Chargers have good vibes. They're a much better team, and obviously they're playing in Houston, so that could be a factor. But just feel really good about the Chargers.
Welcome back to the Ringer Sunday pregame via Saturday, right here on YouTube. Joe House, Raheem Palmer, Cousin Sal, John Jastremski. We will have our picks coming up for the Steelers and the Ravens momentarily. But I want to remind everybody, we are going to have double duty once again next week. So our schedule is as follows. We have a show tomorrow before the triple threat of wildcard games. Normal, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Then Saturday, we're back at 2:30 Eastern and back again on Sunday. So a lot of the 4-pack ready to rock and roll, hopefully nailing all of these wildcard games. Hopefully we have a very successful 2024 and the 2025 postseason. You can get in touch with the show via YouTube. Leave us a comment, question, a concern, feedback. You could throw us roses. You could throw tomatoes. Do whatever the hell you want to do. But we got a couple of these YouTube comments, guys, right out of the gate. Raheem, I already know you're going to hate this one. This one comes from Adam, who wants to tease the AFC favorites down. All well and good with Baltimore. All well and good with Buffalo. I know, Raheem. Tease it through that 0 with the Chargers. No, right?
Don't tease through the 0. You can't do it. You guys got to read Stanford Wong's Sharp Sports Betting. It's one of the best books on sports betting. It'll teach you how to properly do teasers. I think if you wanted to parlay the Chargers or something, I would rather do that than actually tease through the 0.
Now, the NFC, without giving anything away for tomorrow, House, you love a good tease. You like all those underdogs teased over double digits?
Those are fine. Those are all credible teaser legs. I have no problem. I would take Green Bay up to 12, Washington up to 10, the Rams up to 10. Sure, those are all very reasonable, sound teaser legs. Let's get after it. I mean, the wild card is for some wild plays, boys.
Sal, did you find yourself in a position with a lot of these games looking to underdogs, knowing the history of the underdogs on Wild Card Weekend, or no? Out the window?
Yeah, it does. Like, if you like the Ravens to roll and you like the Bills to roll, you're like, all right, I got to take an underdog in here because the favorites aren't going to go 6-0. Although I will caution, as Raheem has said, and by the way, I hope it's 100 years from now, but don't tease through the 0s. Definitely going on Raheem's tombstone. The favorites have won, so to tease some of these numbers up, you might be doing yourself a disservice. In fact, there's a bet out there, the largest margin of victory over 20.5. I like that over. I think we're going to see a blowout or two this weekend.
I want to figure out between Philly, Baltimore, Buffalo, who's more likely to screw up that 3-leg money line parlay that Raheem seems a little too good to be true. There's got to be somebody.
I mean, it's clearly Philadelphia based on the odds, but I mean, that's no fun when you say it like that. But
I know. I'm not gonna lie. It might be something that really suits my fancy. All right, guys, for the second time this show, we got another game to break down. Let's wisen up for the Steelers and the Ravens. All right, we're going reverse order here. Sal, you started us off with the first game. I'm starting us off with the second game. I love Baltimore laying 9.5. The more and more I've thought about it, the more and more I'm all aboard the idea of taking the Ravens. And I know what a lot of the obvious facts are going to be. Division game, the Steelers and the Ravens, the game is always close. The game is always within the number. Except for the fact that last time the Steelers matched up with the Ravens in Baltimore a month ago, and it wasn't. And Baltimore looked like and felt like the much better team. Well, I've seen the Steelers go absolutely in the tank over the last few weeks. Let's not ignore the fact that they barely put up 200 yards of offense against that putrid Cincinnati Bengals team just a week ago. Baltimore's defense is moving in the right direction. I know Zay Flowers is not going to play, but I think Baltimore can move the ball in other ways. They have the 2 tight ends. Of course, they have Derrick Henry. Bateman has come on. And I am just completely out on what I've seen from Pittsburgh. They have this losing streak going into the postseason. Russell Wilson looks cooked. The defense doesn't look the way it did earlier in the year. I'm all aboard, fellas. Baltimore. I think the line is telling, and I'm taking them laying the 9.5. Raheem, your turn. Ravens, Steelers. What's the play?
I'm also taking the Baltimore Ravens minus 9.5. My model makes this game 12. So at 9.5, under 10, it just feels like you're getting value on this line, despite the fact that this line was 7.5 when they played in Week 16. But when you look at the history of the matchups between these two teams this year, the Pittsburgh Steelers have only gotten to the red zone on 6 out of 24 drives. Yes, 6 out of 24 drives. And you look at the Steelers, they're limping into the postseason. The last 4 games, they lost 4 straight games. They're only averaging 14.3 points per game. So what you're seeing in this matchup is basically if Baltimore doesn't turn the ball over and if they don't create short fields, they should win this going away. They should take this team into the deep waters and absolutely drown them. And the Steelers are the 3rd team in NFL history to enter the playoffs on a 4-game losing streak. The last one, The 1999 Lions, they lost 27-13 to the Washington Commanders. Give me the Baltimore Ravens. They should go Marlo Stanfield and put the Steelers into a vacant. So that's what I'm laying.
Okay, we have 2 plays on Baltimore. Sal, you're taking a side in the game. Are you riding with us, or are you taking a team that's been good to you all year?
You're GD right. I'm riding with you guys. Ravens minus 9.5 here. I think you could bust it up to 11 if you want. I'm still taking them. The Steelers have not been good. They've not been good lately, and they've not been good in the last 8 years in playoffs. They have not covered a playoff game in the last 7 years. So it's been a while. Look that up. And JJ, I think you brought up the big point here. Look at the Bengals game, right? They struggled. They had 148 yards of offense going into that last drive. 4 weeks before, they put 44 points up on the Bengals. They're just a different team. As Raheem brought up, it's been 14 points a game over the last month. I think the Ravens might screw with you a little bit like they did against Cleveland last week. You weren't sure, but eventually the points come with or without Zay Flowers. Cold day. Al Michaels he's going to be mad. He's not going to be speaking either out of protest or because his lips are frozen, but I think this is like a 31-10 type game.
Okay, we have 3 plays. Wise guys, unified when it comes to laying the points with Baltimore. Joe House, when we think about your man's best bet record over the last 2 years, I don't think there's any team that has given you more success and more good fortune than a Mike Tomlin-led Pittsburgh Steelers. So, for your wise wager, are you hopping on board with that dog that's been really good to you, or are we playing it a little differently?
Yeah, I can't get there with these Steelers. They're just too inept on offense. I will say you have to make a decision with this game. Do you believe the history between these two teams, which are always one-score games, low-scoring games, the underdog always coming through, the underdog covering, and, you know, a lot of times winning outright? Tomlin has been very good, Tomlin and the Steelers, over history as dogs in this kind of situation. I am scared off by the idea of laying near double-digit points. What I'm going to prefer to do is just take Baltimore in the first half, lay 6.5 points for Baltimore. They covered this number 4 weeks ago. I see them doing it again. 2 games against this Ravens defense. Dream mentioned it. Pittsburgh only reached the red zone on 6 of 24 drives. We don't see them generating points on long drives. Now, I will say there is some difference in this game condition, game state compared to earlier, a few weeks ago. The return of Pickens is big for Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh on defense had Joey Porter go out after 6 snaps. If the defense can stay healthy. Now, look, the Ravens are capable of beating themselves. The first time they met these two teams, the Ravens had 12 penalties and 3 turnovers. That is Mike Tomlin in his bag against this Ravens team. So I'm not willing to lay all the points, but I will do this first half thing. Baltimore in the first half has been a truck over the last handful of years, 56% against the spread. Lamar Jackson's the best quarterback over the last 20 years. The Steelers are 25-45 against the spread in the first half since 2021, the worst in the entire NFL. They finished 6-11 against the spread in the first half this year. So I'm just playing it this sort of narrow way because this game makes me a little nervous, to be honest with you guys.
So I understand that, House, and history would tell us that the Steelers are usually live in these particular games. But, Sal, I've been thinking about this with Baltimore. They've kind of kept Derrick Henry under wraps. I feel like the last few weeks it has not been full throttle Derrick Henry. Let's unleash Derrick Henry. I think we might have one of those games here on Saturday night. I think the Ravens have been kind of storing Henry in that garage, ready to unleash their monster Ferrari,
I got a lot, got something to say about this when we hit props with Derrick Henry, but you're right. Cold, just get him out of the garage, exactly. Warm him up, give him 25 carries, let it speak for itself, but that'll be that. You just always worry with the January Ravens, but I think, they beat them 34-17 this year. I know it was closer than that, but I think the 9.5 is light. We're going to do all right.
I think
Raheem,
Sal hit
go ahead.
I think Sal hit a very key point. If you look at the Steelers, since 2016, they're in an 0-5 straight up and against the spread streak in the postseason. So it appears that Mike Tomlin's voodoo, which works in the regular season It hasn't worked in the postseason since 2016. So I'm riding with the Ravens. And, Sal also said something else. He said that you could actually sell points in this game. And you can get the Ravens minus 16.5 plus 220. So I think this is going to be one of those games where you could probably play some Ravens escalators. So this is either going to be a blowout or this is probably going to be, a Steelers outright win.
I like it. That means I like it, Raheem. I'm not laughing at you. That means I like it. We're having a good time with that.
I love
Ravens
it.
Escalator. Let's do it.
Oh, that's a new.
Goodfellas.
When did you add that to the studio portfolio?
I
That's
just
very
had
nice.
Mikey Meatballs whipped it up during the commercial. And then you do great work. Look at this.
I see a second one there too.
There's another one. This is not as pleasant,
Oh,
I don't
no.
know
What
if
is
you can
that a
see.
picture of?
Yeah, that's Pesci with the plastic underneath them. Very, very sad. Yeah,
Oh, boy.
that's it. But that's all right. I like these picks. I'm not going to show
that's what's going to happen to the Steelers today. Joe Pesci's going to show up.
That's right.
Well, hopefully for our sake, that actually ends up happening. How's your first half play? The Steelers in their last 5 postseason games have been downright atrocious in the first half. That's got to make you feel good.
Yeah, that's an element of it as well. I just think that, for what Baltimore wants to try and establish offensively, the key to this, and I hate to say it out loud, I'm knocking on wood out loud, Justin Tucker cannot miss a field goal. I need Justin Tucker to knock him through when he has the chance. But I do think that Baltimore scores. If they're able to contain the Steelers, and one of the things we haven't talked about yet is how good the Baltimore defense has been over these last 7 weeks. They have, by a lot of metrics, become one of the very best defenses in the league. If they bottle up Russell Wilson and they get a bunch of possessions, then I really like this first half bet.
Okay, boys, we transition from our wise wager to our player prop that we like in this Ravens-Steeler game. Raheem, I'll start with you. What's the player prop that stands out?
I'm going to go with Isaiah Likely, over 2.5 receptions. If you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've allowed the highest rate of opposing yards to tight ends. So this is huge. So, Zay Flowers is out for this game. So they're going to have to, give his 7 targets to somebody else. And I think Isaiah Likely is going to get them. So I expect the Ravens to lean into a lot of 12 personnel. 2 tight end sets even more. Andrews and Bateman obviously are probably going to be top 2 in targets, but right behind them is going to be Isaiah Likely. And you saw what he's done the last couple of weeks. I think that continues here with even more targets. So give me him over 2.5 targets.
Raheem, you read my mind. I'm playing it a little differently with Isaiah Likely, but I'm on Isaiah Likely over receiving yards, a number that has moved up a little bit over the last 24 to 48 hours. I think he goes over 29.5 receiving yards. You think about what the Baltimore offense looks like when certain guys are out. Others have more opportunity. When Mark Andrews has been out, we've seen more Likely. Now with Zay Flowers out, it feels like Lamar Jackson needs another guy to go and throw the football to. And if you think about how the Steelers are going to scheme it up, they're thinking about Bateman. They're obviously thinking about Andrews. I think Likely is going to have a big role in this game. I love this number. Even money, throw it with Baltimore to win. Throw it in any of your SGPs. This will be a big day for a tight end that made a name for himself. Remember, week 1 against the Kansas City Chiefs? I think he has a monster game wildcard weekend. I'm looking at Likely props to score. I like the receptions. And, yeah, I like the over receiving yards. Okay, Cousin Sal, 2 down, 2 to go.
All right, you mentioned Derrick Henry. Obviously should be a big factor in the game if the Ravens are smart at all, and they will be. Here is one I almost feel like going out to our partners at FanDuel, like, hey, you guys screwed up. You put up a prop that says Henry will be the leading rusher on Saturday. Saturday only. Forget about Sunday's game, Monday's game. Minus 125. Are you kidding? Brother Bry set this up from the AAO podcast, and now I'm going to present it to you guys. 2 games. Who's getting this? Who's beating him? Najee Harris, he's banged up. Dobbins, House doesn't even know if Dobbins is playing. Mixon, no way. This is going to be Derrick Henry, 1,921 yards. Just get me $125 today, Derrick, and we are going to split the proceeds with everybody here and the fire victims. Let's do it.
If I had to push back on this, though, Mixon would be my guy I'd play other than Henry. The only reason, Sal, I'm a little concerned is Lamar is going to go and eat at a lot of those rushing yards potentially, where I don't know if C.J. Stroud necessarily is going to be able to do that. Now, if the game goes a totally different script and Houston's got to be throwing the football a ton. That goes out the window. Out of any of the running backs on Saturday that could take that away from Derrick Henry, to me, it's got to be Joe Mixon.
Probably Mixon if it's anybody, but the game script I think is good. Well, I know House, you like your guy Dobbins, but I'm telling you, if the Ravens get off to a big lead, which we kind of all think they will, they're going to be pounding the ball, right?
I don't have an opinion. Dream was the one who made a noise.
Oh,
Joe Mixon hasn't been good in weeks.
Okay, I like that too.
If you pull up his stats, like he just hasn't been the same guy he was earlier in the year, and a big reason why is because the offensive line's been banged up. And I think Derrick Henry is just a different animal. I mean, you're talking about a Hall of Fame level running back, and like you said, JJ, they've been saving him. They've been putting him on ice.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, Raheem, if you're going to find somebody who's going to take that away from you, I don't think it's Dobbins personally, and I definitely don't think it's anybody in the Steeler game with the way they split carries. I think it's a good bet. But if it's going to be somebody, I think it's Joe Mixon, despite the struggles down the stretch. Because I think for Houston to win this game, got to run the football a ton. I think that's a must for them. I really do.
Okay.
I don't know why we're arguing, JJ. You don't like my pick so much. There's something that.
But,
I don't know.
That's only for wise wagers, though, Sal.
Yeah, this is a pretty wise one. Derrick Henry.
All right, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you, JJ. If there's somebody who's going to take that away from him, he plays on his own team.
I agree with
Lamar
this.
Jackson.
I agree with
Excellent
Dream.
point.
Yeah.
Excellent point.
He wouldn't do
Joe
that
House, 3 player props down. Last but not least.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other side of the ball. I'm looking at Pittsburgh because they have to figure out a way to move this ball. And again, this is kind of a by any means necessary. Jaylen Warren over 21.5 receiving yards. Pittsburgh chasing points all game, which means passing a lot. And that's very good for both Jaylen Warren's snap count and his receiving yardage total. He does give up touches to Najee Harris when they're running the football, but he is the clear first option in that backfield in passing situations. He's averaged 27 yards per game over the final 9 weeks of the season with over 19 yards 7 times. I really like Warren over 21.5 today because Pittsburgh is going to have to figure out unconventional ways to get the ball down the football field.
Ooh, I like it. Jaylen Warren, who, by the way, fellas, may be involved in something for your boy a little bit later on in the show. So I like where you're going with that one, Joe House. Okay, let's take a look at the wise wagers and the props for the Ravens and Steelers on Saturday night. Let's take a look at that graphic
Joe
right
House.
there.
Oh.
It's Joe House. He looks great. He didn't expect to be on a one-shot.
He's our graphic.
We have 3 of us aligned. Baltimore, laying a 9.5. Joe House taking them in the first half at -6.5. And then you see our player props. Derrick Henry from Sal to have the most rushing yards on Saturday. And maybe Lamar Jackson is the threat. Maybe it's not Joe Mixon. Isaiah Likely, me and Raheem are aligned. He's taking them over 2.5 receptions. I'm going to go over 29.5 receiving yards. And then you got Jaylen Warren for Joe House over 21.5 receiving yards. Raheem, we did not hit on the total in this game before we get to some other stuff in the Ravens-Steeler and the Texan-Charger game. Do you think this Ravens-Steeler game kind of leans towards a low-scoring affair? Haven't heard any take here on the total. What do you think?
So this one's interesting because this line opened at 47.5. And obviously Zay Flowers isn't playing, which should cut back on Baltimore's offensive output. And then I mentioned the stat about the Steelers only getting 6 red zone possessions in 21 drives. So that would lend itself towards an under. But if this got bet all the way down to 43.5, and you started to see some sharp money bet this back up to 44.5. So you have to keep in mind that this is a market, and you buy at one price and you sell at another. So at 47.5, I love the under. But at the current number, I don't want to go under on 44.5 now. So this is a stay away from me. I think Baltimore, they have a real good chance of probably hitting 30 themselves. I mean, this is a team that's been one of the best offenses in the league all year long. They've been averaging, I think Lamar Jackson for his career averages 28 points a game. So this is a stay away. If you got the earlier number, you're in good position. Or if you came back and, bet the over 43.5, you're in good position. But I think this is right where it should be right now.
Sal, any interest in this total?
They get some dumb scores late, Baltimore, too. Like that game against the Browns had no business being as high scoring as it was, and then Henry broke one. Henry actually didn't even have a touchdown until later, and then scored 2 at the end. So weird stuff happens with Baltimore. They've also been known to have their defense let down in the fourth quarter if you look at some of these games. So I wouldn't touch it, or I would go over here.
House?
It's literally why I want to play the Ravens on the first half. I don't want, when you have a total this low and you're laying near double digits, those two things are not congruous. And it really requires the game script to go the way that you guys are forecasting and I'm rooting for. But it's why I'm not willing to lay all the points with Baltimore on the game outcome. In the history of Mike Tomlin against Lamar Jackson, we have to see a game like Lamar just had a month ago to really validate this number and where this stuff is landing. So it's a complete stay away for me, but I can see a game condition that is another tight 1-score game, slog it out kind of under, which is why I think that total landed where it is.
Let's have some fun. Anytime touchdowns, we'll go around the horn. We have 2 games to choose from. Cousin Sal, I'll start with you. What do we got for an anytime?
I'm going to go Rashad Bateman plus 145. He's the go-to guy now that Flowers is down. And by the way, he was the go-to guy when he was lining up right beside Zay Flowers. He was doing damage with Lamar. He scored 4 of the last 5 weeks. Over that stretch, he has 5 touchdowns. Rashad Bateman, I looked it up. I spent 20 minutes going through family trees. No relation to Emmy winner Jason Bateman, but that is no reason to not take him today to score a touchdown at plus 145.
Okay, Raheem, I think I'm going to like your anytime touchdown. Let's hear.
I think this is extremely likely that he scores. I'm going with Isaiah Likely, plus 270. And if you guys want to throw a dart, I think his first touchdown is 11-1. So I think Lamar Jackson is going to be looking for him. But that's my anytime touchdown, Isaiah Likely.
How somebody had to do it. You called dibs.
Yeah.
What's it gonna be?
Yeah, as soon as I can see our producer's mind moving towards anytime touchdown, the first thing I do is blurt out as quickly as possible. There again. It's less than 2-1, minus 185. What? I mean, the guy, if they get inside the 20-yard line, that's at least one tutty for Derrick Henry. Got to do it. Love to get that action down.
Okay, I'm going with Nico Collins, where I think C.J. Stroud is going to look to rely on his blankie when they get in the red zone, and it's somebody that I think is just going to get a lot of volume, a lot of looks. Hey, when in doubt, go with a guy that you feel confident throwing the football to. Without Tank Dell, without Stephon Diggs, I think Nico Collins finds his way to pay dirt. And I like the price, plus 150. Sign us up right there for Nico Collins and an anytime touchdown. Okay, guys, the Ringer team, ourselves included, obviously, have a bunch of specials for Wild Card Weekend that are available on the FanDuel page. Raheem, you and I joined forces on one of these. You notice that? The JJ Raheem parlay.
Yeah, I mean, we really did. I thought that was, one of our best combinations. I think, what is it? You tell me what it is?
I will tell you. It was the under. It was the under in the Texan-Charger game, and we got the Texans up to 3.5. And we got it at plus 230.
And we also got the under at 42, so I think we got, a great deal there. Actually, I want to pivot a little bit because there's another special on FanDuel, which I really like. It's not a Ringer special, but you can get each team to score 1+ rushing touchdown in both wild card games on Saturday. That's plus 800, so I think that's very likely.
Ooh, okay, I like that. Sal, did you contribute anything to these Ringer specials?
I did. I didn't know we were allowed to team up. You and Raheem, you got a secret? What was this, 4th grade? You whisper in each other's ears?
It's a collaboration.
I have no idea. All right, I think it's as easy as Ravens minus 9.5 and Derrick Henry to score at plus 115. I also have Texans 20.5 plus over, and C.J. Stroud 2+ touchdown passes at plus 210. Those are the ones I like. I mean, I got my name on it. I have to say it.
See, I'm trying to unveil the ones we like, House, that do not involve games for tomorrow. But this one, but this one I think is okay because it doesn't spoil any picks and it's not going to ruin the fun for tomorrow's show. Derrick Henry and Jalen McMillan each to score a touchdown at plus 340. Dude, I like that. I'm gonna ride that one.
That was one of my favorites as we were working through the scenarios this week. The Jalen McMillan one especially, we really think that he's going to have a lot of opportunity against that Washington defense, and we don't have to talk about Derrick Henry getting a number all the way up in that territory in terms of plus. That's a good one. I love that one.
This one's kind of crazy. If you go and parlay our anytime touchdowns, guys,
go ahead.
Bateman, Henry, Likely, Collins. 46-1, Sal.
Wow. Wait a minute. Let me see those names again. Bateman, Henry, Collins, and who?
Likely.
Yeah, that's not happening. No, I like that.
Oh, come
on. No, I like it. Listen, we got to hope for like 40 points out of the Ravens, but I think this is the kind of day it could happen. I love it.
We are so due to hit on one of these, too. So due. I feel like all year we've been talking about a family meal or an anytime touchdown 4 for 4. And it hasn't. One of these weeks, Raheem, it's got to happen.
I don't know. Because
come on, man. I'm trying to will some positivity into the air. First weekend, the wild card weekend. Come on,
Let's
bro.
do it. Let's get it going. 46-1 is a good way to start the
It's time. It's definitely time. I mean, we've come close.
Now, Joe House, your team plays tomorrow. So
Yes.
I think it works out well for you where like in these games, appetizers, you're kind of like, yeah, get me to some. Like, where is your mental psyche knowing your team has to wait now until 8 o'clock to play on Sunday night?
It's so perfect, and I love doing this show, 2:30 Eastern. You know what? When we finish, the time it's going to be happy hour. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go downstairs to the refrigerator, and I already have, the beverages of choice all lined up. They're all in a row, and I'm going to, start crack open the first one and go sit down for a tiny bit of pregame, tiny bit of last-minute betting on my card. You never know.
Nice.
You got to get one in.
What's the beverage of choice? I got to know.
Oh, we're going to go easy. Today's a beer day. Tomorrow, we're in the spirits. I mean, tomorrow, it's going to be a spiritual moment for Washington back in the playoffs. So tomorrow, we'll get into, a little more of a cloudy state potentially. But today, we're just going to sip some nice beer and get on with a nice Saturday night.
I love starting. It's a little later on the West Coast here, and the sun is crawling up Joe House's beautiful blue blazer right now. This is something.
Right.
It's really.
It is. He's illuminating. We're not used to House illuminating like this as we do a show because normally it's early in the morning. The sun hasn't hit peak in Washington, D.C. Much different. We're talking about it late afternoon. All right, we got a lot more coming your way. Our family meal where we will try to put together a winner for Wild Card Weekend. Steven Ruiz is going to join us. All the coaching stuff. Who does he like for these Saturday games? Saturday show, half hour to play. We're coming right back.
Next game here, Steelers are at the Ravens.
Man,
Baltimore is
I can't wait to hear Craig's take on this.
I know.
game.
So Baltimore's 2-8 versus the Steelers in the last 10 games.
But the last one that lingers in your mouth. The last game.
It's just
also, but like Lamar was barely playing in those 8 games.
I know
He
a
played
lot of
like
the games
3 of
Lamar
them.
didn't play. Regardless, 2-8 versus the Steelers last 10 games, and they're 10-point favorite, 9.5-point favorites for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Before we even get into it, can you guys imagine if the Ravens lose this game? Like, imagine for a moment if the Steelers win and the Ravens lose, what narratives are going to come out about Lamar and the playoffs? I mean,
I do not want this to happen. I don't want the I don't want the Ravens to lose. First of all, because I picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl in our staff picks would just make me look silly. Let's be honest. It's just, I think it's cool to see him completely fucking demolish that narrative, like to the point where it's like actually absurd how good of a passer he is. When he gets outside, like when he's like starts running around and getting outside the pocket, I'm like, my first thought is like, oh, he's going to throw a touchdown on this. Like that's the point. That's the point it's gotten with him, where I'm just so confident in him.
I just always laugh when the
old
Ravens
days,
are like, I just laugh when the Ravens are like, nobody believes in Lamar. I'm like, bitch, you took a 25-year-old tight end before you drafted Lamar in that draft.
Yeah,
but no, I
that's
do
true.
what you're saying.
But I mean, like, I would say even a couple years ago, there was a point where I was like, he is a very dangerous passer. He's very good in the pocket. He's completely underrated as a passer, but also like he misses a lot of wide open guys. And I'm just like, sometimes it got frustrating. The last couple of years though, he's absolutely cleaned that up. He is just like so nails throwing the ball down the field. I think the big thing is he's just going to have to like defeat this narrative of playoff collapses. So I just really, selfishly, because I picked them, I want them to win. Sorry, Craig. I want the Ravens to win, but also just like I don't want to have to listen to those narratives again if they lose.
Final half hour Ringer Sunday pregame via Saturday right here on YouTube. Boys, ready to go for the double dip of wild card weekend action. Cousin Sal, Raheem Palmer, Joe Haas, John Jastremski. We'll have our family meal still to come. We'll have Steven Ruiz still to come. I've got a great message from our buddy, our pal, Bill Simmons, the Podfather, who wants to send his love and appreciation to all the first responders, to the LAPD, the Fire Department of Los Angeles for everything they're doing and trying to combat these wildfires. And House, I know you guys took the week off from his pod, so no $1 million picks, but there was a certain message our buddy wanted to share as far as a couple of leans are concerned for these games.
Yeah, we took the pot off, love in our hearts to everybody in LA, going through this, but we did share some notes about how we might play this week. And of course, we're back on the anchor concept. We love Baltimore to win today. We love Buffalo to win tomorrow. You can grab them in 8-point teasers and do all kinds of combinations. We looked at the combination of grabbing Green Bay and putting them up into like the 13, 14-point territory. We looked at Tampa. We like Tampa to win outright. I mean, respectfully, I love my team. I love my squad. I love all of it. But, Tampa as a candidate to go along with these anchor teasers, that's an option. Minnesota, also think that's going to be a close game. So that would be one where you kind of play it. Now, a couple of these have the effect of, if you put them in teaser territory, of going through the zero. We're not going to do that because I'm not going to get in trouble with Dream. But parlays are out there. Anchor, money line parlay, Buffalo and Baltimore. That's our gist for the week.
Well, it sure seems like, Sal, if you like Baltimore and Buffalo, you find that third leg that you like and you just throw them with that. How many people did that with Ohio State yesterday?
That's exactly
knowing you got
right.
them at 5.5 or 6,
The team from Columbus was the way to do it. I did, cover your ears, Raheem. I teased through the zero. I took Penn State plus 11.5. Not teasing through the zero on that one, but with Buffalo and Baltimore. So I'm hoping the hammer doesn't drop, but I do think those are strong. And listen, we need Buffalo versus Baltimore next week, right? Out of any result, that's what we have to see. It's going to be fun.
And that will be the game of the divisional round without question. And if you get Kansas City in the AFC title game, you have an epic AFC title game. If it's Allen, Mahomes again, right, or we're talking about a rematch of the game we saw last year in Baltimore where Kansas City won as an underdog and I was dumb enough to take the Baltimore Ravens. Raheem, we're going to see a valuable lesson here this postseason, my friend. Am I going to finally hop on board with the Chiefs and just say, I don't care, I would need to see them lose? Or am I going to start to get cute? That's what we're going to start to figure out as soon as next week, buddy boy.
I mean, well, look, you gifted me a Christmas present, Kansas City Chiefs, to win the Super Bowl. I think it was 5 or 6 to 1 a couple of weeks ago.
Plus 550, yes, sir.
Hopefully you got a gift for yourself as well. But, I'm not a big parlay guy. But I think this weekend we should do an LA parlay. Chargers, Rams. It pays almost 3 to 1, 265 on the money. That's what I'm giving out.
It's good karma, and we're thinking of our friends in LA. I can't do it because it goes against my wise wager, Raheem. I'm sorry, I can't. I may have some thoughts on the other LA team tomorrow when we do our show, but I can't do it. If you guys want to go be my guest, I'm on the Texans.
I'm doing it. Your problem,
karma, because we'll take all our winnings.
Well, hold on a second here. Hold on a second now.
Yeah,
I do have 2.5. So you tell me I could maybe split the baby?
I have the Texans too, but Raheem crystallized it. We need to be good men here.
All right. Well, if it's a money line parlay, Raheem, I could subscribe to it. Is that fair?
Money line parlay pays 2.65 to 1.
All right. Fine. You guys convinced me. All right. Let's go to a couple of YouTube comments before we hit a family meal. This YouTube comment comes from our buddy Sean, who has Jalen McMillan. You guys are gonna like this. Anytime touchdown. McMillan, 60-plus receiving yards. And House, your guy Jaden Daniels, 60-plus rushing yards. Plus 675. House, I think that game is a good one for SGPs because we're going to have a lot of points, I believe, between the Commies and the Buccaneers on Sunday.
I mean, is this guy going to get mad when I steal that for the same game parlay for tomorrow? We're all over it. That is exactly the right way to line this game up. I mean, any number for Jaden Daniels under 50 for rushing yards, I can't say out loud. I made a very explicit reference to that, what I would like to do to that bet, but I am really enamored of Jaden Daniels over 50 rushing yards tomorrow.
Yeah, and Sal, we have Adam weighing in on your prop, saying that the Steelers are going to hold Lamar to a low total of rushing yards. You know, I never like the idea of thinking these quarterbacks aren't going to run for a ton of yards in the playoffs. I feel like they're more willing to do so. They're more willing to put their bodies on the line. I wouldn't go anywhere near Lamar Jackson under rushing props today. I'm out on that.
Adam likes my Henry prop, right? Yeah. So I think that, I mean, listen. JJ's the one you got to convince this is getting dusty.
Oh, man.
That's not a good bet.
I can't wait till this trophy
Henry
breaks on you. As nice as it is, as beautiful as it is, I kind of...
You can got 25-1 odds that it lasted this long. It's a miracle.
You know what? It's held up for the first wild card show of the year. That's better than we could say last year. That's for sure.
Right.
Guys,
Better than me, yeah.
it's time. Wild card Saturday, family meal, courtesy of the Wise Guys. Let's cook it up. All right, House, you know a thing or two about an appetizer. What's the appetizer we're bringing to the family meal?
Well, it's an appetizer that eats like a meal. We're having some Pink's hot dogs because we're going to roll with our guy, Justin Herbert, one more time. Over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Now, I had the great pleasure of enjoying Pink's last year as I won man's best bet. I had a nice Chicago dog. Had a couple that I brought home with me. Herbert over 1.5 passing touchdowns. The Texans are 27th this season. Very good in a lot of categories, this Texans defense, but not in opponent red zone touchdown rate. They've given up the third most passing touchdowns in the league. Herbert has completed 21 or more throws in 5 straight games, attempted 30, so the volume will be there. He has 9 touchdowns in the last 4 games and multiple touchdowns in each one of those 4 games, and he wasn't doing that earlier in the season. I like the trend. Herbert over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
All right, you like that. Sal, you're looking at the other quarterback for your contribution for the family meal.
Yeah, baby back ribs. And House, correct me if I'm wrong, or anybody jump in there. Baby back ribs have, growing up, I feel like they were awesome. Like it was maybe it was the Chili's commercial. I don't know what it was, but they've since I think taken a backseat barbecue-wise to brisket, and that's what C.J. Stroud has done. He's taken a backseat to the rest of the NFL quarterbacks, despite winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's going to throw for 2 or more touchdowns. We're going to get plus 152 there. He's done 2 or more in 3 of the last 5. We're not counting Week 18 when he was in for a cup of coffee. 3 against Cleveland a year ago, almost to this day. Nico Collins, Dalton Schultz, Robert Woods, get on board. We're going to enjoy baby back ribs at CJ's this afternoon.
So we're going to need a high-scoring game. 2 passing touchdowns for Herbert, 2 passing touchdowns for Stroud. It basically throws out the window of some of these other plays that you guys are giving in the first game. But hey, at least we'll hit something, hopefully. Hopefully. Okay, Raheem, Herbert's mentioned. Stroud's mentioned. You got another quarterback you're getting involved in the party.
Yeah, I'm taking this down to the Baltimore Harbor. We're going to get some steamed crab legs in the form of Lamar Jackson over 49.5 rushing yards. In 6 career playoff games, he's averaging 77 yards on 8.1 yards per attempt. And, you know, my biggest thing is when it comes to these running quarterbacks, they're going to throw caution to the wind this weekend. Like, it matters. It's time to run the ball. So we're going to go with Lamar Jackson over. And I'm just going to give you guys a little spoiler. I'm playing every single running cornerback over. I mean, you're talking about Josh Allen. You're talking about Jayden Daniels. And we're going to see what happens. We're going to see if the market has accurately priced this, because I think Lamar Jackson could probably get half of this on 1 carry.
Ooh, I like this. So the boys are on with 3 quarterbacks. I got to be different. I'm going to Jaylen Warren. I mentioned them earlier because Joe House is riding his receiver prop. I am going over rushing and receiving. I think Jaylen Warren has been way more involved in what you've seen from the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last few weeks. They're starting to phase out Najee Harris, and I know I'm throwing in a very hefty vig to our family meal. But you know what? We haven't hit one of these all year, so let's try to maybe lower the odds a little bit, and let's just try and get a winner. He's going over 50 rushing and receiving yards in this game. You'll get a lot of Jaylen Warren. So let's see what our family meal looks like. The boys are riding with 3 quarterback props. It's over rushing yards for Lamar Jackson and Raheem at 49.5. For Sal, it's going to be C.J. Stroud at 2+ touchdown passes plus 152. And for House, Justin Herbert over 1.5 passing touchdowns at plus 110. And then I gave you that Jaylen Warren right there. Our family meal right around 11-1. Sal, not as juicy as it's been in weeks past, but maybe this will be the week. Maybe.
We just need winners. Let's just get winners to start off 2025. Good positive vibes, like you said.
Raheem, we are going to say goodbye to you, and you can get your wild card weekend started with a bang. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I mean, hopefully we keep it boring, as Stringer Bell says, and we don't have any points in that first game. You know, I love rooting against human achievement, and I think these are the two teams to do so. So, best of luck to you guys. Great having you. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, Raheem, we'll see you at 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll make sure we're on time. That does it for our buddy Raheem Palmer, and you can remember that FanDuel has bettors covered wild card weekend with a host of profit boost tokens to choose from, including the great double your winnings boost. Make sure you opt in on FanDuel so you can apply the different boosts to your favorite bets throughout the day. So what do we got going on wildcard weekend? You got no sweat SGPs Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We love it. You know what else you got? 30% profit boost tokens Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Got you covered every which way on FanDuel. We say goodbye to Raheem Palmer. We welcome in Steven Ruiz, who joins us here for this wildcard weekend. Ruiz, first things first, buddy. We'll get to the Chargers and the Texans. We'll get to the Ravens and the Steelers. It's the aftermath of Week 18. Black Monday has come and gone. What is the most appealing coaching search that you are enjoying covering at the moment? Is there one that maybe stands out?
It has to be the Jets. Just interviewing everybody. I think like one of us on the show right now might get an interview by the end of next week.
Well, I was going to say, Ruiz, I am in New York. Are you surprised that I haven't been interviewed for the GM and the head coaching search? I'd look good. I'd roll up the pants like McDaniel on the sideline, you know.
I thought Schefter tweeted that you did get an interview on Wednesday. Didn't that happen?
Maybe he did. I don't know.
Might have been one. It might have been Ballsack Sports or one of those other like fake accounts or something. I don't know.
Anything's possible. But the idea of the Jets just bringing in everybody under the sun, you find interesting?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you kind of have to. You don't really have a direction because I don't think they're going to bring back Aaron Rodgers. And if you do bring back Aaron Rodgers, that changes your whole coaching search. So, yeah, I think it makes sense. Cast the wide net. Maybe you get one. Maybe you don't. I don't know. The Jets, what they've been doing in the past hasn't worked. So change it up.
I like the sound of that. So, you know, Ruiz, we have a competition on the show. Yes, we have our wise wager that went to Sal going away. But we have our underdog of the week. And it was decided in Week 18. Thanks to your pal, Bryce Young. How about that turnaround from Bryce? He finished the season really strong. He had a brilliant final game of the year outdueling Michael Penix. Does it maybe change a little bit of the calculus for what you're thinking about him and the Carolina Panthers moving forward?
Yeah, I think he's earned his contract here now. I think last year he kind of seemed like one of those quarterbacks, those rookie quarterbacks that you move on after 1 or 2 years. But I think he's earned maybe a year or two after this. I think he looks like the quarterback that maybe his detractors pre-draft kind of worried he would be. I think he shows that he could be at least a system quarterback. And with a little playmaking, we've seen playmaking over the last month, and we didn't see that over the course of his entire rookie season. So I think that's the green flag, so to speak.
Okay, now let's get to these games. We'll start with the Chargers and the Texans. Ruiz, take a look at what we ended up playing for this particular game. You're going to see an underplay from our buddy Raheem. House is teasing Texans up to 8.5. He's taking the under at 47.5. And I know everybody under the sun, Ruiz, likes the Chargers in this spot. I get it. It's Harbaugh. It's Herbert. The Texans were so terrible offensively the entirety of this year. I think this line reeks, dude. I think the Texan defense is better than people think. The home underdogs have been absolute money in the postseason. I don't think I'm getting your endorsement on this one. I know you're a big Herbert guy. I'm a big Harbaugh guy. But there's something stinky about this line, Ruiz. Chargers, all they got to do is win by 2.5. Ooh, stinks to the high heavens to me.
It's the Chargers favored in a road playoff game. Of course, you should feel a little icky about this line. But I think when you look at the matchups on both sides, it's just a terrible matchup for Houston, especially on the offensive side. They've been so reliant on explosive plays, and that's been the Chargers' MO on defense. They limit explosive plays. So if the Texans have to go on these like long 12-play drives, they're going to screw it up eventually. That's what they've done all season. I think that's what they're going to do today.
Ruiz, I'm on the Texans, especially just to score 20.5 points. This is the home team does well traditionally in these wild card round games. But how much do you think, looking ahead, Andy Reid, scale of 1 to 10, how much is he rooting for the Texans in this game? Because if it's Chargers, you know, barring an upset in the other games, if it's Chargers going to Arrowhead next week, I think that presents a little bit of a problem for Kansas City, more than some of these other options. Do you agree?
Yeah, because they're a familiar team, and this is an opponent that's given them problem. Even when Brandon Staley was there, before the Chargers kind of turned things around, they had problems kind of putting the Chargers away. It was always a close game. They had to win the last minute of the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I think that's the opponent you don't want to see. Especially a couple weeks ago, you kind of manhandled this Houston team, had no problems, got your offense rolling again.
Mm-hmm. So I want to go at you, Steven, as the prominent, avowed Herbert stan on the panel here. Like very much what we've seen out of him over the past 4 weeks. They've increased the volume. He's thrown for 2 or more touchdowns. And as I was looking at this game, I was really impressed by the running numbers for Herbert. Now, I think that Houston is potentially uniquely kind of situated. The way that Houston is able to get pressure without using the blitz, Herbert loves to eat up the blitz, and that's not one of the ways that Houston is going to try and defend him. Let me hear your Herbert handicap and how you think the game script might go.
No, I had that in my notes. I have Herbert scrambles as like a big thing in this game because, like you said, when you blitz, you kind of clog up the escape lanes for a quarterback. If you're just rushing 4, you have those interior gaps you can kind of escape, especially against Houston where you have so much edge pressure with those 2 edge rushers. I think you're going to see Herbert respond to that pressure by scrambling. I could see him getting like 30 rush yards in this game, and maybe he pops a big one.
I love it. I love it.
Going back to how to attack this Houston defense, Ruiz, Stingley has been unbelievable all year. Do you think this is the sort of game where you say, look, I'm not throwing it his way. He can go and wreck it, whether it's a big pick, whether it's a pick 6. I mean, this is a guy who's not going to be shy. He's not going to be bashful as far as trying to make those big defensive plays. Do you expect Herbert to go at Derek Stingley, or you think he's going to kind of say, all right, I'm going to spread the ball other places?
I think he's going to spread it around. I think you put Quentin Johnson out there, just kind of burn Quentin Johnson and waste Stingley. And then maybe put like a running back out there at times and give you a man zone tell, but I don't think they're going to attack him. That's the one guy you don't want to attack in the secondary. So it wouldn't make a lot of sense.
You sensing this will be totals in the low 40s? Highest scoring game or a low scoring game?
I would go low scoring game. I think 24-17. 1st to 21 wins the game is what I would say.
Not ideal, Sal, for you 20.5, unless, of course,
well,
the under in the Texans set.
Yeah. He misspoke. He means the Texans are going to score 24.
That's right. Yeah.
Hey, Ruiz, jumping back real quick. Does Bryce Young owe you money? Do you feel like you inspired the second contract by predicting he would get benched, and then he got mad? He got mad at you. He clearly went after you.
I was definitely
coming back. Yeah.
I was definitely part of it. I deserve more credit than Dave Canales, that's for sure. I deserve more credit than that receiving core. Xavier Legette, I've done more for Bryce Young than Xavier Legette has done all season, of course.
He should cut a check to whoever it was that jumped in front of Andy Dalton's family car and caused that, because that's the thing that created this.
It certainly wasn't me. It wasn't me. But like Panthers quarterbacks and automobile accidents have gone hand in hand. Do you remember Cam Newton had his during? I think
that's right.
True story.
Yeah. They need to
Uber calling that
down there. Yeah.
Let's go from game 1 to game 2, Ruiz. We have probably the best rivalry in the NFL to speak of, the Ravens and the Steelers. Historically speaking, this game is always tight. Now, when they played back in mid-December, Saturday standalone game, it wasn't. Baltimore won margin. The Ravens have played very well down the stretch. The Steelers have been dreadful down the stretch. I mean, they couldn't do anything on offense against Cincinnati, whose defense stinks. Anarumo just got fired, for goodness sakes, and they couldn't make plays against that Bengal defense. Russell Wilson had a chance late to go and win it, didn't get it done. 9.5 is the number. Lamar's cooking. Henry's cooking. Steelers' offense is in shambles. Is this game a rout, or is this classic, hey, here come the Steelers, here comes the Steeler voodoo, they'll keep it closer than you think? How do you read Steelers and Ravens?
It's such a tough game as like an analyst who's trying to attack it objectively and look at all the numbers and look at the matchups, because some nonsense is going to happen when Tomlin's involved. And when the Ravens are involved, quite frankly, they're kind of like the anti-Steelers, where the game is close at the end. They usually do something to screw it up. So I think it's either a Ravens blowout or it's one of those close games where maybe we see a little Tomlin magic in the end. I really sincerely doubt that, but I'll give it like a 10% chance of happening.
That's a cop-out answer, Ravens blowout or a close game. Come on.
All right. The Ravens win by 21 points.
There you go. He's getting on our good side, Sal, because we all took the Ravens. So we like hearing that, Ruiz.
Yeah, I mean, if they play their A game and the Steelers play their A game, I think it's a 10-point game either way. Like, I think the Ravens win by double digits.
I do have a question. I have a theory that Pickens was awful last week.
Yes.
Because it was absolutely effing cold. Like, I mean, I honestly didn't get a chance to go back and look at this, but I bet over his career that was either the coldest game he's ever played in or in the top 3. And he just looked like he didn't want to be on the football field. It is cold here in the DMV, as you know, as a local. But it ain't like, frigid the way it was. I do think there is yet a game script here where we saw some of this with Russell Wilson and Pickens. The moon ball comes back, and it is one area where Baltimore is susceptible. Like, I couldn't bite down on a double-digit kind of a spread for this game because there's just too much history here. Do you think the Wilson moon ball is back potentially?
I think so, because it's such a timing throw, like those deep passes. Everyone mistakes those like deep throws for arm strength. Like, it doesn't take a lot of arm strength to complete a deep ball. You just kind of throw it out at the right time. And if you let your receiver run under it, I think if you're off just a little bit, they look really ugly. And last week they looked really ugly in ways that we haven't really seen out of those two all season long. So I think that's more of a blip than something that we're going to see continue.
Do you think, Ruiz, we see both quarterbacks in this game? Is there a Fields package, or have the Steelers kind of abandoned that idea?
I don't think so, because Tomlin was asked about it after the game last week, and he was like, no, I didn't really think about it. But, like, why didn't he just say no flat out that he didn't think about playing Fields when Russell Wilson was struggling? So I think there's at least a conversation internally about playing him. And we've seen him get snaps in situations, like short yardage situations. So if Russell Wilson is struggling out there and you don't have any other cards to play, why not? You have nothing else to lose if you're Mike Tomlin at this point.
What about looking ahead for next year? Do you think Russ is the starting guy? What kind of odds would you put on him taking the first snap in week 1?
I can't see him.
Not
happening. Back. No, not.
They're a very stubborn organization with these
Ruiz,
quarterbacks.
what about Rodgers? Rodgers to the Steelers.
Oh, man, that's what I want to see. I would
Come
pay
on,
money.
man.
Can we start a GoFundMe to get him? I want to see a Rodgers Tomlin locker room and just see what happens. Who throws the first punch?
Again.
That's my question. Who throws the first punch?
I'm in. I am so in on that. And listen, for what it's worth, I don't think the Steelers do better at quarterback. I don't think it's a great offseason for quarterbacks. They're not picking high. The draft is not a great quarterback class. Tough spot for them, Ruiz, because they want to win games,
Yeah, but if he's starting in Pittsburgh, who's going to be starting in San Francisco for Kyle Shanahan? Like, that's where I think Aaron Rodgers is going.
Now we're really trying to stir it up. I love it. Okay. We got a bunch of games we want to hit on. We're going to make our picks Sunday. You get the chance to do so. Denver, Buffalo. Ruiz, full disclosure, I can't live in a world and imagine living in a world where Bo Nix goes into Western New York and wins outright against Josh Allen and the Bills. And let's just say I am rather invested in this particular outcome where Buffalo advances to the second round, and I'm not going to be sweating this out. Then I see a bunch of people on TV, Sean Payton, nothing to lose, Denver defense. Is my confidence in Buffalo winning this game with ease justified, or am I going to be sweating this out Sunday in the early window?
I mean, it is on paper. Like, you look at all the numbers and all the matchups, like Buffalo should win this game by 14 points, 10 points at least, but styles make fights in the playoffs. And I do think Buffalo kind of has a style that can get at, or I think Denver has a style that can get at Buffalo's defense, where they're going to put tight ends on the field. They're going to run the ball down your throat. Buffalo plays light personnel on defense. They never come out of nickel. They never put a third linebacker on the field. And against a team like Buffalo and against a coach like Sean Payton, that could become an issue on the ground game. And if they control the clock and keep Josh Allen off the field, Vance Joseph's defense gets a turnover too. I think they need 2 turnovers, but if they get 2 turnovers, I think they have a chance at making this competitive. I'm not picking them, not even picking them to cover, but I do think this is a matchup that's good for Denver. This is the only team out of the contenders in the AFC that I think they have a chance against.
How do we look at this Green Bay-Philadelphia game? Personally, the Packers scare me in this spot because I'm a Cowboys fan, and they went in there last year, went into Jerry's world and looked like Mike Martz's Rams, put up 1,000,000 points, never had a chance. And then again, you look at like the exposure for FanDuel, and JJ talked about it. The happy teaser, happy money line parlay for everybody is Buffalo, Baltimore, and Philadelphia. Is the chalk just going to keep ratcheting up win after win after win, or is it some scare Packers going to put into them?
No, I am scared about this game. The one thing I'm not scared about, if I'm a Philadelphia fan, is my run game against their defense. I think they're going to be able to run the football, but it only takes like 1 or 2 tackles for losses to really throw a drive off kilter. And with that passing game and must-pass situations, we've seen the struggles. I know Hurts and Brown had the bounce-back game against the Steelers, but we haven't seen it all year. It hasn't been a good drop-back passing game. So if the Packers can make it into a drop-back passing game for the Eagles, I think they have a chance. And I honestly think they have the better quarterback in this matchup, and that always gives you an advantage.
All right, let's talk about the local team, local to you and me. Washington down at Tampa. Tampa's laying 3 points. This is going to sound like an emotional hedge by me, but I've got props on the Tampa side of the ball. Tampa offense all over the place. McMillan, Bucky Irving. I'm going up and down the board. I also have Tampa winning outright because I have a parlay where I'm going against all the rookie quarterbacks and plus Sam Darnold. If you haven't been on the football field in a wild card playoff game, I am not betting on you. There is a pathway for Washington because we watch it all season long. There's a pathway to Washington. His name is Jaden Daniels. I expect him to run for at least 70 yards. But at the end of you'll see it. You can get that number. Wow. I just, at the end of the day, you have to recognize this Washington defense and who it is and how they've outperformed all season long. It's a miracle that we're at this moment talking about this situation, Steven.
Yeah, I mean, that Tampa Bay offensive line is the most underrated unit in the NFL right now. Like, their offense is basically set up in the same way that San Francisco's offense was set up last year, where the easy buttons are producing like 10 and 15-yard gains. Like, the screen passes are deadly. The run game with Bucky Irving is getting like 6 yards a pop, and they're breaking off explosive runs. And then, of course, you have Mike Evans. The one thing I am interested in is the Marshawn Lattimore trade and how that affects their defense. They didn't have him in that week 1 game when the Bucs went up and down the field. But if you could take him away and get Baker Mayfield into 3rd down and make him come off his first read, which is usually Evans, he'll throw you the ball. And if you catch the ball, you have a chance in this one. And I like the Commanders offense. I like the matchup against the Bucs secondary. So I think there is a path to victory. I'm still taking the Bucs, but I'm trying to help you out.
I appreciate it. I'm in the same boat.
Ruiz, does the calculus change at all for McVay and the Rams with everything that's been going on in LA with these wildfires? Obviously tragic. They have to move the game from Los Angeles to Arizona. They're playing inside. Not much of a home field advantage in that stadium at SoFi to begin with, but are you more concerned maybe about the Rams playing this game elsewhere or business as usual?
I think it's business as usual. I just feel like either way, we're going to be able to look at it after the game and we're just going to come away with the take. Like, if they end up playing well, we're going to be like, oh, they rallied together because of this. And if they get blown out, we're going to be like, clearly it affected them. It's hard to say how it's going to affect them. I like the matchup on the offensive side because Brian Flores likes the blitz, and I think Matthew Stafford is one of the quickest thinkers at quarterback, so he'll be able to deal with it. I don't like the matchup on the other side of the ball, though. I think if Minnesota can run the ball, especially, which they haven't been able to do recently, I think it might be a track meet for them.
We'll see if Sam Darnold is the guy we saw for the first 17 weeks of the year or the guy who absolutely stunk it up last week against Detroit. I think that also could play a major, major role in this game. Ruiz, final thought here. You have all the wild card games to choose from. The side that you are most confident in, ATS, what would it be?
It's the Ravens, without a doubt. 3rd time seeing this team. I don't think they're going to make the same mistakes they made in that first game. They've cleaned up the penalty mistakes. They cleaned up the deep passing defense. I really don't see an avenue for the Steelers unless, like House laid out, they get 3 or 4 moonballs to George Pickens.
Ravens. Sal, that's music to our ears.
Yeah, let's take it. Let's get one easy one, right? We deserve it.
Hot State. Talk about a sweat. Ruiz, see the end of that game? Thank you, Sarkeesian. Yeah. I'm sending him gift baskets from that play call, pitching it back 5 yards on the 1 yard line. Hallelujah.
And you can never go wrong betting against Quinn Ewers in crunch time either. He'll give you a touchdown like he did at the end of that one.
What an absolute thing of beauty. Ruiz, thanks for joining us. Enjoy all the playoff games, and we'll see you in New Orleans in a couple weeks. All right, pal?
Thanks for having me, guys.
That's our guy, Stephen Ruiz. For Joe House, Cousin Sal, John Jastremski, we are back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern. We will have all the recap. Chargers, Texans, Ravens, Steelers. We got 3 massive wildcard games to break down on Sunday. And then, of course, the Vikings and the Rams in Arizona on Monday night. We'll see you on YouTube. Tomorrow we'll see you on FanDuel TV. Wise guys, signing off. Enjoy the football. Be good, everybody.